Coming at you nearly live and direct from the Stephen King state of eternal weirdness and frostbite, we proudly bring to you the mystical duo of all things bizarre and macabre, as they will serve as your guides on a magical mystery tour de la Jolla of creepiness. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have a spectacular show for you today.
Yes, we do.
Even though that's, implied, right?
It is implied. I think when we have a show, it's known that it's spectacular.
It's fantastical, spooktacular.
All those adjectives.
Oh, yeah. Whatever you want to use, it is definitely that. We're going to have our friends on with us today. Friends of the show, Alan Marston and Travis Molden. They will be on with us later in our main attraction to discuss a little bit of everything. I know that we talked about Best Evidence Part 2, but honestly, I sort of came back off that a little bit just because we started going through some of our better evidence. And we had some trouble figuring out which ones we wanted to use, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
It'll be coming soon down the line. We are going to play some EVPs for you today, though.
Yes, so this will just be like the best evidence that we got on our last investigation.
Yeah, on the most recent investigation. Some interesting evidence, especially around the sweep technology. We're going to be talking, some of the SB7 catches that we had and really put our thoughts out there and even use a controversial piece that we don't really want to use as evidence, and that'll be exciting. So there's a little hook for you for later in the show, because actually the piece of evidence, it falls in line with the conversation that's going on, with what's happening,
right, and
with everything that's going on, except it shouldn't be there. And we'll explain that later. And we're going to have in that topic of discussion later, it opened up a channel of discussion for us as a team with Stacey and I, and also we're going to introduce that to Travis and Alan and get their thoughts on that. What happens when it shouldn't be called, and you catch it. Of course, we all know the old adage, when in doubt, throw it out, right?
Right.
But sometimes
when you know that this sort of thing happens in other situations, it's hard to, even if it looks questionable, it's hard to toss it.
Yeah, it's hard to just toss it. Exactly.
So it's one of those things where you have to kind of put it in there like, this maybe seem questionable,
right,
but we believe this is what it is.
Right, exactly.
And there you go.
And looking at it objectively, you can say, we shouldn't use this, but it does fall into the context of the conversation, and there are other variables to that investigation that was happening around that time. So we just want to, talk about that, discuss that. Now, as far as Stacey and I, we did throw it out. I will say that as far as how we investigate, we did throw it out. We just thought it was very interesting, provided what is said.
Right.
And what happened. So how about that for a hook, huh? you gotta wait now, right?
Yep. Gotta wait through the news. But the news is really interesting today.
The news is very interesting. Not that it's not normally interesting. I will say, my God, what a couple of weeks I've had.
Yeah. You have had quite a few.
It's been the Bruce Wayne side, which the alter ego, the other job, if you will.
So is Batman the paranormal side?
Batman is always the paranormal
Bruce Wayne's
side.
the I got a job side.
Of course, Batman's the paranormal side.
Paranormal Batman.
Yeah, Batman's actually the paranormal side. Bruce Wayne is the...
I have to be responsible because I have a job side.
Yeah, he's the swinger out there,
Interesting term. You tease. Anyway, continuing.
Yeah, moving on. No, it's been a real hectic week, at the professional side for me. And we always bring our regular life into this. And I think that's good. It's been interesting because I said goodbye to some friends at the at the place I have employment at.
Right.
And I also got a lot more responsibility with some really great teams and all this stuff. So I have about twice the region I had.
Yeah, I'm super excited about what you have to do now. I mean, you're the one that's to do the work, so it's okay for me to be super excited about it, I guess.
I am very excited about it too. Actually, if anything, I feel like it's a much more impactful region that I'm now.
A positive step.
Yeah, it's a positive step. You get and everything is what you make it.
Exactly.
It's either going to be negative or it's going to be positive, and that all depends on you.
Well, now speaking of negative and positive, not on the work front, but just in our general lives, it seems like there's been a shift in the whole negative and positive vibe kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's really strange. A couple of months ago, there was a weird planetary alignment. Right. And we talked about it and we expected it. And I think we were hiding under rocks. And maybe that's why nothing really affected us at that time. For the past, I don't know, 30 days, 40 days, wow, there's been some big things happen in a negative way. And we felt that lift. And it wasn't really anything crazy. I mean, there was a car wreck involved, which never had one, know, so it was minor, don't worry. And there was just a bunch of things happen. Even this change at work, for a lot of people was a negative.
Right.
For me, it's a positive.
I think it's just a situation where when you do like what we do with the paranormal and you're very aware of, your vibes, people call them vibes.
Right.
And you can tell like when there's like a negative energy, you can feel it. It's like you have to wear it like a blanket.
Absolutely.
And then when that goes away, then it's like you can breathe.
You don't realize you have that extra layer on.
Right, exactly. And then
gone.
All of a sudden it's like, oh wow.
Yeah, you're like,
so
okay.
much better.
Exactly. It's and it makes everything hard. It makes walking hard. It makes breathing hard. It makes everything difficult. But, we do feel that lifted. And it's kind of funny because this secret project that we have been doing on the paranormal front,
you really need to work on your subliminal. I'm telling you. I think I can hear it.
No, you just been around me a long time. Nobody else heard anything.
I got you.
But what we're doing there is really lifted up. We've secured what we need to secure, and we've got some very exciting things and coming up. And when I say exciting, I mean freaking exciting.
I mean, we're like jumping up and down in the middle of the room exciting.
Yeah, very exciting, and some steps forward for many things. So we'll be doing that at the end of this month. And so there's a lot of good things going on for the Sideshow for John and Stacey, and we're excited to bring you guys along with us. With that said, I do have to shill a little bit because if you want exciting, you're going to have to go to ParanormalSideshow.com. That's the place to find everything positive and exciting. On Facebook, it's Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. It's not quite as exciting. On Twitter, it's @Sideshow97. Always exciting, little weird. On Instagram, hot, exciting damn. It's John and Stacey Edwards. And on the YouTube, you just search Paranormal Sideshow and you find all kinds of little goodies on there, including some old docs and all that good stuff. That's the cool way to say documentary when you're a cool cat like I am.
In the biz.
on iTunes, search us out if that's the way you listen. Stitcher, Google Play, however you listen, you'll find Paranormal Sideshow there. Tell your friends. If you don't like it, tell an enemy. And on iHeartRadio, also, I always leave out iHeartRadio. I don't know why, but it's anywhere, guys. And go out, find it, please share it, all that good stuff. Tell people about it.
I would like to say that if you go to our website, that is a good way to get a hold of us. We have actually tons of contact through the website. People message us all the time. Thank you guys for sending us.
And we read every bit of it.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys for sending us your messages, and you're telling us you're a first time listener or your suggestions or any of that stuff. We love it.
And we absolutely do. And we try to get back to everybody that we can. And
sometimes it takes a week or so.
It does. But it's awesome. And I love that communication, and I love hearing the stories, and I love listening to evidence. I love every part of it. I really love what we're building here because it's all of us. And, it's a lot of fun, and, trying to prove that you can have fun, actually have intelligent conversations about the paranormal all at the same time.
Yes.
So with that said, it's now time for Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so we're going to start the news this time with some updates.
I love updates.
From some previous stories. I know you do. And this first one I actually shared it on our Facebook page because it came out really shortly after we did the last show. And so I wanted people to go ahead and have the update. But this is the one about the saint's brain that was stolen. Yes. Actually gave us the title for our episode.
It did.
I mean, you got to be a pretty special story to be the title. So apparently it's been recovered. Yes. So the person that stole it, it was reported that he was going to try and sell it.
Of course he was.
I was right.
You were right. You win the award. It wasn't a holy zombie like I thought.
No. But they're really, really excited. It was stolen by a 42-year-old man who had a criminal record already. And he said that he believed that the relic was solid gold. Maybe he didn't know what it was because he thought it was solid gold. I don't know if he meant like he thought the case was solid gold or if he thought
maybe that's the way he says cool.
I don't know. But
maybe he walks around and annoys everybody. And they're like, hey, Frank, what do you think of that? It's solid gold.
Well, anyway, he did plan on trying to sell it, but it doesn't say in here how they caught him. I don't know if it was a tip-off or, Well,
there's only so many people that say solid gold like that.
I guess so. It's a dead giveaway, isn't it? But I'm glad they got it back. They were really praying to get it and recover it and have it back in the church. So
yeah, I mean, I hate when I lose my head like that.
When you lose your brain.
When I lose my brains.
So did you notice that we got a comment on our YouTube channel for that episode about the saint brain?
Absolutely.
I guess we were making fun of
it. Yeah. Well, having fun with it.
Exactly.
And for those, who don't know, user NoD actually was the one who left the comment, and we read every comment, and no matter on what platform it is, as we talked about earlier in the show.
Right.
But, I was excited about this one, even though NoD's probably the one that used the no thumb. I'm looking at you, NoD. But, the cool thing about it is he or she did actually leave links and to
with
why
relevant information.
Right.
Yes.
To why they, why they hold on to bones or pieces of holy relics and stuff. And you know what? We know that. And it was an interesting read. I did go through it. But at the same time, not everyone understands why you may keep a brain. So if you have questions about that, I would implore you to go to our YouTube channel and look at NoD's comment. And
there's a link.
And follow the links and find out about that. Yes. Absolutely not anti-Catholic.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely not.
And not anti anything really. That's probably our problem is we'll sort of let anything in, right? But no, I really encourage people to give your opinions and your points of view.
Absolutely. We love to learn new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, that was really good for me to read.
Right.
But I still hold tight to the fact that I don't care if you raised a mountain out of a pit. I probably wouldn't keep your brain.
Probably not.
But that's just a personal preference.
Yes. Well, everybody has their personal things, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's go on to another update of sorts.
Okay.
And this one is about the billboard that was in Philadelphia, the Flat Earth billboard.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
And it was up for a week and it said, research Flat Earth. That's all it said.
Right.
So apparently they've expanded now and there is now a billboard in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they've gotten a more expensive billboard.
What a strange place.
Well, the guy that does this lives in Arizona and he just picks places that he thinks, one, he can afford, and two, that are very high traffic.
Right.
So this one is off of an interstate in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's a little more more words. It says, "Is the Earth flat? Research Flat Earth." And then there's the Facebook group name on there. So this one's going to be up there for a month. And it's another digital one that they paid for. I guess he raised more money.
Right.
And so he's still working on spreading his
Flat
Earth Society stuff.
Well,
So, good for him, I guess.
Absolutely.
It's not like we buy billboards that say ghosts are real or whatever,
At least people can see it for miles and miles and miles without any obstructions.
I suppose. Okay, well, this last update type thing is about... Update type thing. This is about...
Wasn't that a Stone Temple Pilots song?
You would know better than me.
Okay.
About the woolly mammoth. They were trying to bring the woolly mammoth back. That team from Harvard is working on it.
They were bringing a woolly mammoth back from Harvard?
No, there's a team at Harvard that's trying to resurrect
okay, sorry.
woolly mammoth.
Very smart mammoth.
The other one was a different story.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't an update to that.
We'll sweep that one under the rug.
So this story is just
sort of an uppity mammoth.
About the founder of PayPal.
I went to Harvard. Did you, mammoth? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So the billionaire founder of PayPal has actually funded part of this project. He's given like a chunk of money. He wanted to donate to something unusual and strange, and so he decided to donate to the
we need to send him a link to the Sideshow.
The efforts of them resurrecting the woolly mammoth. And basically what they're doing is it's not going to be a true mammoth, because they don't have the full DNA. It's going to be like a mammoth elephant
cat
hybrid.
wearing a mammoth in the snout, or
yeah, probably eventually at the end it's going to be a mammoth elephant kind of hybrid.
Witch, she's a witch. Look, she has the nose.
It's a false nose. So they've filled in the DNA with African elephant DNA. So basically it's just going to be like a hybrid when they get finished, not a true 100% mammoth, because they don't have all the DNA. But he decided,
then in a couple of years they figure out how to do a full mammoth, and all the other mammoths don't let him join into their mammoth games.
You have a weird train of thought going on over there,
honey. You have no idea.
Well, he did donate to it. He's a billionaire. He donated $100,000. So
do you think he used PayPal?
I bet he did.
I bet he did too.
All right. Anyway, that's all the updates. Let's move on to some news stories
down
now.
Dates.
Okay. The what? The down dates?
The down
Is that
dates.
what you said? Okay.
Yes.
So this first story is about the vote that just passed in the House that would actually create a U.S. Space Corps out of the Air Force. Like it would split the Air Force.
Join in the military.
You're like, I want to be Space
Yeah,
Corps.
right now.
You just want the uniform that says U.S. Space Corps.
Who doesn't?
I know. It'd be really cool.
We're going to go fight giant bugs somewhere. And
It's not. Oh, you're doing the Starship Trooper thing.
yeah.
I got you.
As long as I can have the locker room scene.
Well,
the best part of Starship Troopers.
It's not an absolute yet.
Right.
I mean, it's just passed the House vote, but I think it's just amazing that it actually passed this far.
Yeah, and of course, because of what we do, they're going to say we're reading a lot more into this than what it is.
Right. Well, it was a little strange because in the article, this was a vote that was done at night, and some of the representatives felt like it was kind of sprung on them.
Yeah, always.
Like they didn't really know.
Dude, historically, those last second things that are done like that, they've got a history of being strange.
Right. Well, it's been put into the 2018 Defense Authorization Bill, and I guess they felt like it kind of got slid in there maybe, or just last minute. Some of the people that are for it disagree. They say they've been working for this for years and years, and they think that it's time,
right,
and that it's something that we definitely need to have. But it did pass the House vote, and it would actually create this whole new U.S. Space Corps, and the general would be on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He'd be like a 5-star general, whoever was over it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a whole new branch of the service.
Yeah.
Brand new.
I mean, that's amazing. And, I am looking more into it. Of course, I believe that we've had a secret Space Corps for a number of years.
So they're just trying to make it out in the open?
I am telling you, since 1986, 1987, when I was a kid, all right, I would watch the news because I was a weird kid. And I was always looking for things that were strange and odd, and that's just who I am.
Right.
But patterns. Right. I always talk about patterns. And that was around the time Reagan was trying to push his Star Wars agenda.
Right. I remember all that.
And, so that got me interested just by the name alone. And Ronald Reagan got me interested in politics simply by calling something Star Wars.
Yes. I think he did that to a lot of kids our age.
Well, I got interested in it, and then I started thinking, I bet they're hiding money to pay for secret things, because I always believed there was, secret hands involved and stuff. I believe you're bit with that bug at an early age. I remember at least 1986, they had the big thing about the expensive toilets and or the $640 toilet seats.
Oh yeah, where everything costs so much.
Right. It was like $640 toilet seats, $37 screws, $7,622 coffee maker. Now, obviously, a coffee maker doesn't cost that, right?
No, not unless it cleans your kitchen and
So how do you hide? How do you hide funds? Maybe that's the way, maybe not. But there's a lot of unaccounted for money each year that goes into
absolutely.
something.
Absolutely.
I believe personal belief that we've had a secret space program, and this is just bringing it to the forefront. Now it's interesting because they're going to say, because they say a lot, that this is simply this, or it's simply this, right?
And nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
Right.
It's a new branch of the military. That's a pretty big deal.
It is.
It
really is.
And it's one of those things that everything has a reason, right? So we know what the Coast Guard is for.
Right.
We know what the Navy is for. The Air Force is self-explanatory.
Right.
This is our space branch, man.
Right. And it's not like we need this to do. I mean, we have NASA. They
and the Air
explore
Force
space. Yeah.
Yeah, and you would
so
think
it's not like.
But you said
those
it
things
is a
aren't
branch
being,
of the Air Force, though.
Well, they would split the Air Force. It would be another branch of the military. Yeah. I mean, I guess they would.
Right.
Take some of the things the Air Force are over now. Any space things that the Air Force is over now, they would take that. But then that begs the question: what about the International Space Station? Does that fall under? Would that fall under a military thing now?
I mean, it's international, so I think Russia has more hands in that than anybody. So no,
but it's interesting.
Very cool.
So we'll just have to keep an eye on that because it still has some work to do. It's not.
I think it's exciting, even taking it at face value, it's exciting for the future.
It is.
Can you imagine being an 8-year-old kid and whereas you always wanted to go into the Air Force?
Right. Now you could go into the U.S. Space Corps. It does sound very cool.
For me, it would have kept me in math a lot better.
Probably.
I always wanted to go into the Air Force. That was one of my big things. I wanted to be an astronaut. And, so my parents did the whole space camp thing for, and
right.
It was like this big deal for me. That's what I wanted to do until I figured out how much I hate math.
Well, see, I'm on the opposite end. See, I love math and I could have done all the math, but I'm terrified of heights. So I don't think astronaut would work for me.
I wanted to do it so bad. I dreamed about it. It was what I wanted to do. And I've told the story before on the show, but it bears repeating. In kindergarten, they ask you to draw a picture of what you want to be. And I've always had this thing about I don't want to look stupid in front of people. I think a lot of people have that.
Right.
So I drew the picture of the astronaut. And I was going to have to put astronaut at the top. I did not want to put spaceman because even as a kid, I was very self-conscious of not wanting to sound like a kid.
Right.
So I had done it. I drew it and I couldn't spell astronaut. So instead of asking someone, I wrote coal miner. And
which would have been logical for the area.
For the area and for my family, right? The lineage and stuff. So they grabbed the paper and the teacher actually put it over at the front of the class. And she's like, little John wants to be a coal miner. And she's like, what a good picture of a coal miner.
And it's an astronaut.
Yeah, so it's an astronaut. And I would give anything to have that picture still.
Oh, your parents have it somewhere.
Well, they probably gave it to my parents at some point.
Yeah, so it's down in their basement somewhere.
And they were probably like, what the what? He's never mentioned anything about being a coal miner. He jokes about his grandfather just talking, because I'd go see Grandpa Edwards. And even as a kid, listen to this one, D, the Catholic commenter. Even as a kid, I made fun of my own grandparents. I mean, I would go over to see Grandpa Edwards and he'd be like, and I'd be like, what is that? Why does he talk like that? Oh, it's black lung. Oh, okay. And he'd be like, it's okay. I get a check for it. It's, so, I mean, I had this cynicism and this sarcasm at a very young age.
Which I believe you've passed on to your children.
Oh, absolutely. And I believe
just want to point that out.
That's in your DNA.
I think so.
And from that report I read about women, it's in your DNA now too.
Oh, really?
Did you read that?
No.
You don't know that one?
No.
Okay, so that's a news story from this year, and I guarantee you a lot of our listeners have read that. So there was a story come out, this research that came out. Every man that a woman sleeps with, she retains a bit of his DNA.
Wow.
So any man that you have coitus with, unprotected coitus.
So I'm basically almost you.
Yeah, me. So, you retain a bit of his DNA.
I see.
And I thought that was so astounding. So I started thinking about like these really high priced hookers that only go, like only service like the most powerful and smartest men in the industry, right? And I started thinking, man, I wonder how smart those people are. Like I want to go find one of these top notch like call girls.
Oh wow.
And interview her and just be like, all right, so when you first started your profession, did you have this understanding of calculus?
I'm not sure that's exactly how it
to
works.
This degree. I just thought it was interesting.
Oh, I just love the way your mind goes when you read things.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, anyway, let's continue. So we were talking about space.
Yes.
Somehow we got into, never mind. But there was a story that came out the last couple weeks. It was the video from Anonymous where they were claiming that NASA was going to make an announcement about the imminent alien life.
And I don't know if anybody else is like this about Anonymous.
Right.
But I have trouble understanding which one is the actual Anonymous, or if there's like a million different people making anonymous videos.
Yeah.
And it bothers me because I would like to know, like who is which channel is the representative of the actual collective hacker group of Anonymous.
Right.
So I know they're really saying something and it's not just some dude.
Yeah, because you can just get a mask and make a video. We could get a mask and make a video and say it was anonymous.
Make sure it's not just some dude in a Guy Fawkes mask, just saying, whatever. Because I want to make those videos now. I want to get on there and just make a video tomorrow, make an anonymous YouTube.
That's a really good point because somebody could get on there and make videos as anonymous and say things wrong all the time.
Because they're anonymous.
Make them look wrong, make them look like
disinformation.
This is a good thing because this is definitely not a true story, and NASA came out and confirmed that they're not going to make that announcement, and it was obvious that was silly. I mean,
but what does that do to Anonymous?
Exactly. So that's a good point, that it could have just been somebody that wants to discredit Anonymous making this video and saying, because they've been wrong in the past.
Yeah, you can tell the story now, and then we'll talk.
Well, that's basically the story.
Yeah.
The story is basically that they put this video out, and then NASA came out a couple days later, and they said that there was no pending announcement.
The actual guy that they were talking about in the Anonymous story actually came out himself.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
Absolutely. And was like, don't listen to that. This is wrong. This is not going to happen. NASA's not making that announcement.
Yeah.
So
fake alien news.
Right. I'm pretty sure if NASA was going to be able to make that announcement, they would say that they were going to, they would hype that up. I mean, they hype up announcements for new planets and stuff like it's a movie or something.
All I can think about is that obviously, once again, we always have to preface this by saying aliens are here. In our opinion, they've been interfering for a long time.
Right.
In our opinion, it's hard to dispute the evidence of very credible witnesses from around the globe for decades and decades that have had experiences and have seen things. And if they have not had these experiences, these abduction experiences, if they were not alien, they were not extraterrestrial, then we have a probably even bigger problem of demons or whatever taking these people and having these things done to them. And if our own government has that, I know some people like to say it's our own government. If our own government has that technology, do you really think we would have any conflict whatsoever?
Right.
Because we would probably, get Saddam Hussein back in the day and, just abduct him, have him on a ship and say, stand down, buddy. And you would probably stand down the next day.
Right.
After the anal probe.
Right.
You're kind of like, you're a bit submissive. I mean,
like, whatever you want. It's fine. It's fine.
It's probably, you've ever seen an alien's fingers? Every picture.
They're very long.
Come on now. Do you really want that in your bunghole? I don't. You don't even have to do it. You just have to say, all right, look, you change your policies or these are going up. And I'm like, all right, look, I am a good guy. Go USA. Look at my shirt. It's got a flag on it. So yeah, back to the point. I believe that was just disinformation, or it wasn't.
Right. And they just, Okay. So let's move on. So this next story, you're going to love this little story. This one's so cute. This is about a little girl, a little Kiwi schoolgirl, 8 years old.
Aww,
but she got in trouble at school.
Uh-oh.
Because she was in the bathroom trying to summon Bloody Mary.
Oh, I love this little girl.
She went in the bathroom and she was looking in the mirror during lunchtime instead of being at lunch. And she was saying, Bloody Mary over and over, trying to summon Bloody Mary. And she got caught by the teacher. And the teacher punished her and sent a note home to her parents.
How did the teacher punish her?
I think they made her miss lunch or something, like sit in a corner or something. And they sent a note home. I guess they felt like it was the parents' responsibility to really take action on this. But they had a picture of the little note, and she had to actually write, "I will not try to summon." I can't even.
That's amazing.
I will not try to summon Bloody Mary in school. It was so cute, and she couldn't really write it, like she was spelling it wrong and all that. So it was really adorable. And her parents, I don't think they're really going to punish her. They thought that it was a little harsh to make her miss lunch for something like that. I think the whole Bloody Mary thing was something that was going around.
Right.
And even the mom was like, my daughter's a little behind because everybody was doing this months ago. And now she's just now doing it. But it just so happened she was doing it because she saw someone else do it. And then she got caught. Isn't that always the way?
It really is for you.
Yeah. The little sweet girl that decides to do it last, she's the one that gets caught.
No, I would have been the one that actually found the book and was like, or watched the movie and was like, all right, guys, I think this will work better with 20 of us.
They said that she had to stay inside during lunchtime and fill out a form about that she had infringed a school value of taking responsibility.
Of not summoning demonic entities.
Into the bathroom. Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, did they not let her eat? I'm going to take a personal campaign on this one.
I think
that pisses me off.
I think she had to miss lunch. Yeah. Like the little girl was annoyed because she thought the teacher just thought she was in there swearing.
Yeah.
Because she was saying bloody.
Bloody.
Bloody Mary. And she didn't really understand what she was doing. And the mother said that she already had some other issues with the school with bullying and stuff. So I think that she's actually going to move her kids to another school.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And of course that school's haunted now because that little girl summoned, all the kids were summoning Bloody Mary. So.
Absolutely. That's an awesome story.
But they felt like the teacher was overreacting a bit, making her miss lunch and all that.
Yeah.
Like it was just a silly thing. So
beware, teacher. Mary's going to come for you.
Yeah, now that little girl's gone. So I thought that was a cute story. Okay, so there's another story about cops that were deployed to protect this community from a hungry ghost. Like this whole community, they believe that they're
hungry as in I really want some Fig Newtons?
No, that's just the headline. It's a ghost called a Phi Pob. It's the ability to possess humans and wreak havoc on an entire village.
Oh, okay.
And this village thinks
I'm actually familiar with that.
They have one of these. And so what they've done is they've called the police and they've asked them to come to the village because they're afraid. And the cops actually agreed. They upped their patrols in that particular village just to keep the calm because they're afraid, because people get, if they believe that they're being possessed.
The whole reason we don't have disclosure.
Then that's going to cause havoc, whether it's paranormal or not.
I'm sure it is.
It's going to cause some crazy, crazy havoc.
People don't give villagers enough credit. They always want to say silly villagers or whatever. And that's the way it's always been.
Right.
I'm different. I hear about this happening and I go back to the thing about abductions. Something's happening. Something is happening.
Right.
So maybe the cops are doing a great thing here. And, just increasing the patrols or whatever. But I would love to go into that town and talk to those people.
Well, it's funny because it's the Royal Thai Police. That's who are doing it. And there's actually their motto is actually there's nothing under the sky that Thai police cannot do.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go.
Well, that's a big statement.
The village, they actually wrote a letter. They didn't, they weren't being crazy about it. And they said that 4 cows there had died.
Of course, they did write it backwards in blood.
And that 4 officers at a nearby border patrol had fallen ill and local residents, were scared. And, it was a very thought out letter. And so the police were like, well, we're just going to take care of this. So,
oh, well, good.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
It very is.
So hopefully, the village also did a Buddhist ceremony to try and,
give some positivity,
cleanse the village or whatever. Okay, so I've got a few more stories here. Let's talk about Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe and his family and their new paranormal show that they're doing.
Wouldn't it be cool to have a paranormal show that had a family? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? It'd be cool.
Yes. Well, this is called the Lowe Files.
Yes.
And it premieres August 2nd on A&E, because that's very prominent in this article that, this show's starting on A&E on August 2nd.
Oh, honey.
And
this is a promotion machine.
They're hunting for Bigfoot, I guess. I don't know if the whole show is them hunting Bigfoot every episode.
I don't know. I believe that it would be more...
Because I thought it was all
wouldn't it be cool to have a
paranormal.
Family paranormal show where they were hunting all types of paranormal?
Yes.
I know.
Cool.
This one, it made me sick just reading about it for other reasons.
So... apparently, it says the docuseries follows Lowe and his sons as they are exploring the Ozark Mountains.
Right.
And supposedly...
So that does sound like all Bigfoot.
When they were filming the season finale, supposedly Rob Lowe had a Bigfoot encounter where he thought that he was going to be killed, that he actually saw Bigfoot and he was in fear for his life.
So let me point out a couple of things from inside the business.
Right.
You don't know. Now, you have a good understanding that this may be the season finale that you're filming. But not to that degree. There's always a chance that they can't edit the season finale in time, and so episode 6 that you filmed becomes the season finale. That was the first thing that stood out to me, especially in the paranormal, because you have to. These poor editors have to go through and take a week's worth of crap and edit it down to 60 minutes, or 42 minutes, and so that one got me because I was like, all right, so it's the season finale. That you just happen to film, and so people are going to watch the whole show. And if you're going after one thing in one area and it's building, then you're going to want to watch every episode to see it build to that.
Right.
I mean, it's and you know what? Maybe it's legitimate. Maybe that really happened.
I mean, maybe it says in this article that he and his sons went camping, and in a scene that is featured in the show's season finale, Lowe said they encountered a real live wood ape. So I don't know if he knew that it was a season finale beforehand. But it's odd that it's just coming out right now.
Well, there you go.
Right before the show airs.
That is interesting. Also to the fact that you normally don't release anything about what's going to happen.
Yeah, why would you tell?
And you would tell if you had that idea going into making the show.
Exactly.
That we're going to say that.
Yes. He does believe in ghosts. He doesn't believe in all the paranormal stuff, which is cool. And it's cool that he's making the show with his sons. But come on.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have come out and said he almost got killed by Bigfoot just...
I think
for it to be a publicity stunt.
The more striking thing on that show is how his sons didn't really take after him. That's the first thing I know, because Rob Lowe is like on the short list of what turns John gay. That guy was an attractive younger man, attractive older man.
Right.
Yeah. Us attractive men have to stick together. So
I agree.
All right.
I agree. It's nothing better than a bunch of attractive men stuck together.
Nice.
All right, so a couple more stories here. So here's one about a bizarre incident that happened recently involving rocks raining down from the sky.
I hate when that happens. I
know, because it hurts. I don't know.
Was it a volcanic eruption or what?
They don't really know. It caused kind of a panic to sweep through this village, and some religious leaders in the community.
Damn villages.
I know. They are just calling it a divine outbreak, and they were praying, hoping that it would stop.
A divine outbreak of rocks?
Of just some kind of plague,
what
maybe.
God do they worship?
I don't know. But the government officials who were skeptical, they came to the village to investigate the situation, but they actually saw the stones falling from the sky.
Wow.
Yeah, which is unusual, because usually the skeptical government officials don't.
Normally they show up and they're like, all right, what's all this business then? And
there might be a natural, explanation, like you said, volcano or something, but it actually hasn't come out. I mean, this just happened, so
I believe they would know if it was a volcano.
It hasn't actually
crazy.
Been said what it was.
That's nuts.
And it says there isn't really anything that they could do about it,
maybe it was
because
a flying wood.
They think it's just an isolated incident. But maybe cover your head or something. I don't know. Isn't that crazy?
Don't go outside.
I've never actually heard a story where it was rocks.
No.
Rocks raining down from the...
No, I'd like to see some video of that. You think if it happened for that long, somebody might pick up a camera?
You would think so. There might be some video out there. We'll have to search it and see.
Don't live in a village.
So here's this last little story. This one's kind of paranormal just because of the subject matter, but there is a bar in Dawson City, Yukon, And they have a drink called the Sour Toe Cocktail. It is a shot of whiskey that has a real human toe floating in it.
That I have actually heard of that.
You've heard of this?
Yes.
So apparently this toe that they use for this cocktail, they're not, I mean,
was that on Josh Gates?
It may have been. Yeah. I don't know. But you're not supposed to, you're supposed to just let the toe touch your lips or whatever. So somebody stole it.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's gone now. And they're asking for anyone who knows anything to please try and get this guy to return it. It's a fine of $2,500 for stealing or eating the toe.
Are the bar owners Catholic?
No.
I was just wondering if there was some, divine reason that they kept the toe.
Well, no. They actually have several, just in case this happens. They used to only have one.
Right.
And some guy ate it one day. They used to have this fine, and this is funny. It was like $500 if you stole the toe. And some guy came in, and there was a story about this a few years ago, and he drank the toe, slapped $500 on the counter, and walked out of the bar.
Oh my God.
So they raised the price of it to $2,500 for anybody that steals it. And they actually have the guy's name because he got a certificate for drinking the shot. But then he stole it. And they have a couple backup toes. People donate the toes. I might want to add. They cure them in salt. They donate them. But we
need to open a bar where there's a penis in the...
you and your phallic things, yes. I don't know if that'd fit in the glass. I mean...
Well, it depends on... Who's we use, I guess. Yeah.
So if anybody knows,
here's the John Edwards Brutus.
Anything about somebody stealing a toe from the bar?
Yes. I love the way you use phallic. By the way, my proper girl here.
Oh, so that's all of our news.
That was enlightening.
Yes,
and I appreciate it. It is now time for a main attraction. Honored guests, friends, and marks, we here at the Paranormal Sideshow would ask that those faint of heart or weak of the knees to please switch off this broadcast, as it's time for the supernatural spectacle, a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma and stuffed neatly inside of a Tijuana taco roll. It's now time for our main attraction. All right, it's now time for the main attraction. And today we're doing a little bit different in what I was telling you guys at the very first of the show. Mm-hmm. We are going to go over some of the evidence that we collected on our most recent investigation from a few weeks back. Some of the sweep technology is the main thing that we're going over here. And a little bit of... cool poltergeisty type activity as well, which is you've edited it down. But it's just, for fun. In doing this, we also have the controversial piece, which is a good topic of conversation.
It is.
What happens when you have something that, maybe could be or couldn't be paranormal, but falls into the context of the conversation.
Right.
So, it's something definitely we're going to let everybody hear and do it. Of course, I will say that we did throw this out ourselves, but it is, to me, relative, relative to what was going on and a good little piece. For our discussion today on the main attraction, we have brought back some great friends of the show, our lecturer and presenter extraordinaire, Mr. Alan Marston. Alan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic, Alan. It's good to have you on here. Good to have you back. And like I was saying, I can't. I'm under a mum order. I can't say some of the lectures that and speaking engagements that Alan has coming up just yet.
Right.
But I am excited to talk about this when I can.
Yes, as soon as we can.
And nanny poo poo on anybody who gets mad about me saying that much of it. I will say this much. Alan's been giving a series of lectures and doing some speaking engagements. So we're really excited to have you back on here, Alan, and we keep up with Alan weekly. So
yes.
Also joining us today is our longtime co-conspirator and paranormal outlaw himself.
Yes.
Mr. Travis Molden. Travis.
Hey.
He's there. He lives.
It's good to have you on here, buddy. And, we've got some good conversations to get into today. And like I said, we're going to go over a little bit of the most recent investigation. And let me set this up a little bit for you guys, and then we'll go into other places. We were doing a special investigation, and we were actually 1,000 miles away, doing an investigation. And during this investigation, it was a place that we had done before.
Right.
Actually, it was a Johnson City Community Theater, and
Love that place.
Love that place.
Yes.
So this time the energy was a bit different than what it had been before.
Right.
We had a lot of good evidence come from this place, but this time it was a little bit more intense.
Right.
So we also had some negativity happen earlier in the night with something that was going on in conjunction with us doing this investigation, and we did lower the number of people in the building. I'll put it that way. And started picking up some really incredible evidence.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons that I've brought the round table on here is an interesting little conundrum.
Okay.
So when reviewing the evidence, we did a lot of work with the sweep technology. We used the SB7 with an external speaker a few times during the night. During one of these sessions, upon review, I discovered that I was getting direct responses to many of the questions that were asked.
Right.
And I was getting a particular voice. I was getting maybe 3 distinct voice answers from some people, male and female. So during this review process, I get to a point where the investigation, I was not getting what I wanted to get. And I will say I was disgruntled from things that had happened earlier in the night. We weren't, and we've talked about this before, guys.
Right. We weren't in the right frame of mind at all.
Right. Yeah, we weren't in the right frame of mind. And you know what happens when you're like that. And I mean, you're distracted. You're just not feeling yourself. And we've talked about on the show before, you probably should not be investigating at that point.
Right.
But we don't listen to our own advice.
Well, this wasn't a situation where we could go back.
Right.
I mean, we were pretty far away from home.
Yeah,
so
this is like our last chance.
It was our last thing.
So we go ahead and I'm doing forward sweep on AM band. And I decide to stop and go in reverse. During the downtime between forward and stopping it and going into reverse, when I land on static only, I get one of the voices that I had been getting direct correlated responses to. And the voice seemingly says, well, that was a worthless session. He was going to try harder, I thought. And the cadence of what is said is, well, that was a worthless session. He was going to try harder, I thought. Now, we threw this out because it stopped, because it's not sweeping, because it's static. And the very fact that it could be a radio station.
Right. Well, the way, for those people that don't use an SB7, the way it works, when you sweep one direction and you want to switch to the other direction, if you stop the sweep, it'll go quiet for a second, and then it'll just be static on whatever radio station you land on, whatever number, whether there's a station there or not. And then you hold the button in to go the other direction. So during the time between stopping the one sweep and sweeping the other direction, that's when this voice comes through. Now, it sounds like it's coming through the spirit box, but we don't put it over. Like, you can't hear us saying anything about this voice coming through.
And my hand is cusped over the speaker.
Right. So even though we think that it's paranormal, it was not conclusive enough to say definitely.
All right, Alan, I would like to ask your opinion on this before I even play the evidence on what we're talking about. What's your opinion on such a piece of evidence?
The thing for me is, once you stop and you're going to switch back, if you're hearing static, I mean, if it's usually a latent radio station or just, a station period, it's going to come up, in that time that you do stop. And you figure that you would get, some little bits or some words or something. But for it to come right out and answer a question, kind of hard to say that it's not something,
Right. And I totally agree with you. And I think that most of us would throw it out. Travis, what's your opinion?
I don't know that I would automatically throw it out. I mean, even before the sweep technology and the SB7 spirit boxes were a big thing, white noise was used at EVP sessions just as an energy.
Right.
some kind anyway. So, I would say, I think it's just as possible that it didn't come through the spirit box, but it's an actual EVP pulling from the white noise for the static. And if the entity or the energy that was giving you the answers before makes a statement that relevant, it's possible that, why would it not be possible that they're putting it out there, and instead of it coming through the sleep technology because it's not sleeping, it just plays off of the white noise, and that's why you picked it up and didn't hear it.
Well, we talked about that too. Like, we know that we get EVPs when we're using a spirit box. We've played on the last show, last evidence show, we've played EVPs that we've gotten while using sweep technology that we didn't actually hear at the time. Right. And so it makes it hard with this one because it's hard to tell whether because it sounds like spirit box, but, could it be an EVP since we didn't really hear it at the time? There's that question you don't really know for sure.
And it's the paranormal.
Yeah, exactly.
The paranormal keeps redefining itself to me, even after all these years, shifting paradigms, constantly. So, what is possible? What's not possible? We've seen objects levitate it and thrown across a room. There's, there's little ethereal men that'll appear. So why is it not possible for me to stop from forward to go to reverse? Especially since it doesn't sound like a radio channel. It just doesn't sound like something that would be even in a conversation, but it is so relevant. So I'm going to play it, and I'll play it a couple of times. And again, form your own opinion of what is being said. So I'm going to give you a warning now. You might not want to listen to the next 5 seconds of what I'm saying. So to me, it's saying, well, that was a worthless session. He was going to try harder, I thought. And it's very relevant to what's going on. And here we go. Okay. All right, guys. So what's your first thoughts on that?
To me, it actually sounds like it is the box, but kind of like you said before, it still sounds like it's that voice that comes through kind of not on the same plane, if that makes any sense. Absolutely.
And that's exactly what I said, to be honest with you. The very first thing I said was it's the voice that's, as we've talked about before, for people that do this, that voice that's, it's underneath. And if you haven't done the sweep technology, you haven't listened to thousands of hours of review, maybe you're not there. But even tens of hours of review, you start picking up things, and you're like, holy shit, what am I listening to? So Travis, were you able to hear that well enough?
To me, it sounds less like spirit box, less like radio, and more like there was actually somebody else in the room.
Okay.
Maybe at a distance.
Right.
Yeah, which is another thing that has made me wonder from when you first told me about it, whether it was came through the box or whether it was an EVP.
So I'll tell you something interesting. My first thought of this was a fantastical thought. My first thought when I was reviewing the evidence was that I captured the thought of the guest investigator. And this guest investigator, who's probably listening to the show, I don't care to say this, this guest investigator loves the paranormal, yet does not investigate the paranormal that much, has investigated the paranormal, is a volunteer at the theater, is a young man, probably in his 20s, and, was very excited about being with John and Stacey, had heard a lot about our previous encounters, knew a lot about what we were doing and what we were there to do that night. So if you were that man and you were with us, and then all of a sudden we have the incidents happen, and he's seen what happened, and I sent people away, and then we have a session where we're just half-assed doing it, just to be plain. Right. It was almost like, to me, it was almost his thought. And I know we've talked about this before individually with you guys. That's more fantastic than catching a spirit to me. Yeah. But it really is like, if that kid could have had a thought. Right. Maybe that was it. That would have been the thought. But regardless, it's relevant to what's happening, and I don't see that being a radio station because of all the empty noise in between of what he's stating.
Right.
And to be on the radio, you're going blah 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 blah. Instead, even the cadence that he's using, it just doesn't make sense to everything.
Well, I really wish we had the video rolling just in case it was EVP, because then it wouldn't have been on the video.
We had just stopped. I thought we did have the video.
I did too, because I actually pulled it up and I was like, wait a minute, we don't have that part on video. And I was just kicking myself, because if for some reason that had been EVP, then we could have had the GoPro. Had the video.
We had the GoPro going on us the whole time, which actually a selection that we sent to the guys in preparation for the show was exactly where we were sitting when this happened. And it was just we had the GoPro on us, and so
then we were like, let's just turn that off for a minute.
Yeah. So regardless, these things happen on investigations. I just thought it was an interesting conversation to bring up. All right, guys. So switching gears a little bit, I'm just going to get to some of the evidence that we did capture, and we'll do the sweet technology first, and then get the little cool thing that happened afterwards, and get the opinions of the experts. the
friends of the show. I'm gonna get them T-shirts that say Paranormal Sideshow, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the sideshow.
There you go.
I'm a friend of the sideshow, and all I got is a T-shirt.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
And I had to pay for it at cost, though. We'll try to be cool. All right, so this little selection I want to play for you. Interesting catch. So to set it up, in the review, it seemed to be a conversation, but nothing good enough that I could just cut out.
Right.
But it was a conversation as to what exactly in that blue hell is going on in this room.
Right.
We were in the auditorium of this theater, and I could hear it. It sounded like two spirits talking back and forth. And then the one knowing spirit said what we were doing.
Right.
And I'm going to play that selection now and not say what it says. All right. And and for me, it's saying ghost hunter.
Yeah, that's what I think it says too.
So, and also, like I said, in context, we had just started. And it was like there was a lot of voices, and then the woman says ghost hunter, and I'll play it now after
saying what we think it says.
After I've implanted that in your brain. All right, guys, opinions.
I think both of you hit it spot on.
Yeah, so very cool when they're talking about what's going on, and they're saying something or you're catching something that is so close to what is happening at the time. That's what you want. That's what you do this for. So have you ever captured anything where it's like talking about, paranormal investigator or anything?
No.
Yeah.
You have your control questions and stuff, and where you can actually find out if they can see what's going on right now. But I've never had anything that actually talked about what we were doing, as far as trying to talk to ghosts or spirits.
So actually, Mr. Travis Molden, back about 10 years ago, I investigated a place called Beehive Antiques in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yes.
That building was critically haunted. And actually, in the early days of YouTube, we put up some great evidence from there. Anytime you wanted to get a EMF meter to go nuts and ask directly, that place was the place to do it. Very intelligent spirits. One of the few places that I've experienced an attack from a paranormal entity. But we were upstairs on the 3rd floor of that building, and we captured a crystal clear EVP that used to be featured prominently on our website 10 years ago that says, "Here come the ghost hunters." And it was a little kid. And that's exactly how it said it. "Here comes the ghost hunters." And so it's really the only other time that I've ever got something saying ghost hunter. But what's your opinion of the evidence that I just played?
It's relevant and totally seems to be like an intelligent response, and he knew what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to really wrap your mind around the fact that a spirit knows, exactly what you're doing or has that terminology.
The terminology is what I think is unusual because that's a fairly recent term. That's not something you would expect to get from a spirit that,
No, it would have been paranormal investigator.
Right. Or kook. I was going to say crazy person, something like that.
But,
spiritualist or something.
Yeah, spiritualist. Yeah, especially from the time period. But I will say this about it. It goes back to a theory about educating the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you go back to a place multiple times, they're learning how to use this information. And, a little technique that I used to try, guys, and then I'll see if you've ever done this or your thoughts on it. When I would go back to a location where I had captured some Class A EVPs, I would take those EVPs and I would return to the location and I would let the spirits know that I captured them talking, and I would play back through a loudspeaker their EVPs to let them know, hey, you can talk to us.
Right.
So I don't know if you ever tried anything like that.
I think it's interesting that the 2 times that you heard the term ghost hunter were both places that you had done before, and that term was probably
I was thinking
thrown around.
Right, yeah, loosely.
Yeah, I've done, we used to do real-time playback on the recorder. We didn't necessarily have a loudspeaker, and it wasn't necessarily someplace we'd been before, but there were a few times where that would either encourage more EVPs, or in some cases it would seem like we even got an answer to the EVP after we played it, recording on another recorder at the same time we're playing. And it seemed to, like you said, they seemed to learn.
Yeah, Alan, I know that you, like me, like a lot of the newer devices and a lot of the real-time, devices that are out there where the spirit can actually hear itself at the time that we're doing it. So do you think that lends to the fact of we're getting better evidence?
A little bit. I think the more and more you go back to a place, though, they end up, I guess, possibly learning you and getting to know you. It's kind of like you're going to somebody, that you work with or something like that. The more that you interact with each other, the more comfortable that you are with each other. And I think that's got a lot to do with it as well.
Right, absolutely.
There was another capture that we got through the spirit box that I thought was really, really relevant and smart. And it was when we were in the theater still, in that auditorium, and you asked what room we were in. Yes,
this one, as far as relevance, and we'll get back to the discussion of returning to places, in which we've always encouraged people that it's not an investigation till you've done it 4 times,
Right.
Because really, if you're trying to learn, that's the best way to learn.
Right.
Right. So this one is awesome. A couple different voices are used here, many different channels. As Stacey said, we were asking,
what room are we in?
What room are we in? And we were in the theater, and we were on the 2nd floor of the building, just so you guys know.
I think you said, what building are we in? Something like that.
What building are we in? I'll play that again. And for those of you wondering what we think, the very first thing that comes up is the female saying theater. And then 2nd floor. What building are we in?
And it just so happens that we were in a theater. We know that. And that theater is on the 2nd floor of that building because it used to be a church, and there's the upstairs and the downstairs. So that is exactly where we were.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, that intelligent response directly after asking, that is that's what you want, and really opens up the conversations quite well. And, going back to the familiarity of where you're at, and both of you know, all 3 of you know, actually, you just, after you get to a place, it's almost like you become a bit connected to not just the spirits in the building, which I try not to do, but, I heard that laugh, but to the actual building itself. And it's almost something draws you and pulls you. And I know both of you know all about that, but Alan, I know you've encountered that with a particular place.
Yeah, that one, I'll be going back at least once, I know, to speak this year, and possibly another time this year. So
in that particular building, you had a pretty intense experience.
Oh yeah. That's probably the one time that has made me second guess what I'm doing, and it took me for about 2 to 3 months before I could really get back into doing it again.
Right, and
so we can save that for another show.
Right, no, absolutely. But having a experience like that happen, your reasons on returning, would it be for curiosity, or was it?
I have a couple different. One is just because I love the location, you know.
Right.
Second is, you know, to possibly find out what's going on.
Right. I mean, and I totally get that. Travis, I believe, you know, when we go to these places, I don't want to call it an unhealthy obsession, but I believe that you're connecting to the spirits and the empathy of how they feel about the building and or the structure. The building to me becomes alive. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And usually you don't get that until you do it several times.
Oh yeah. Well, you see it all the time. People that have their place, they call it like their place that they like to go, or their building. And, you know, we had one of those for a while.
Yeah.
We just went and we couldn't not go.
Right, exactly.
Like we had to go investigate.
Yeah, and I think you're referring to that theater.
Yes, well, that's one of them. Yes, we've had a couple, but yeah, we have, and you know, we played EVPs from the theater on the last evidence show. So you know, we went several times.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no real good explanation for that other than the fact of, you know, you're getting the good evidence. I guess it's like having your secret fishing spot, right?
Well, yeah, because it's not like we were going back to figure out whether the place was haunted. We knew it was.
The only thing I don't like, and I'll throw a grievance out here, is when a certain paranormal team has a location and doesn't want to share that with the world.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. I don't like that.
You know what I mean? It's like, this is what we're doing this for, kids. We need to move forward with our with the research and what's going on. So I'm going to play some other pieces here, Travis. All right, so this next one I want to talk about something interesting and a little bit sarcastic, in my opinion. I believe we had a very cynical spirit on hand. Right. You know, several times I captured things that weren't quite good enough to use, you know, weren't quite up to the standards, but I thought you guys would appreciate this. So I asked for a clear name. I wanted to know who this was. And I got this response. I will say this comes through first in like it's 2 words, a first and a last name. and it comes through first sort of screaming, you know, as a lot of sweet technology does. And then the second one is more of a gruff, growly voice. So here it goes. What is your name? What is your name? All right.
Okay. So, I mean, you might have to listen very closely to hear the whole thing. But yeah, I think it.
So, I'll play it again after I discuss it.
Okay.
So, when I was listening to it the first time, I heard it right off the bat.
Right.
So, when I let you hear it, you heard it right off the bat.
I did.
And that's usually the correlation for me. So, I was asking who it was. And the first one, I will say that the second word,
it's a lot more clear.
The second word makes the first word form in my head. Okay?
Okay.
If that's fair.
I can understand that, yes.
So if it was just the first word, I wouldn't consider it evidence or even a word.
Right. But because the second word's there. Yes. It makes it seem relevant.
Right.
Yes, because the second word's just plain as can be.
Plain as can be.
It's kind of faint. You have to listen really close, but it's there.
Yeah. But what I hear is Jesus Christ. So the Christ is beyond discussion, I believe.
There is no question about that.
How do you feel about it, Travis?
That's the thing. If it had just been the first part,
I
didn't get anything out of the first part until it got, and then it seemed to fit.
Yeah. Then it kind of fits into the whole mold, which, you know, happens a lot with these things. But that first, I mean, the second part, once you key in on it, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I will let you know to the listeners, when I was doing the review for that, I got to that part and I ended for the night. So
he was like, I think I'm done now.
Yeah, I went and took my holy water bath. And
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, this definitely says Christ.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we feel like that first part is the screaming.
Yeah, it sounds like Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to play it again now that now we've told you what we think that it says. What is your name? What is your name? Intense.
Yes, definitely very intense.
I mean, that's for me, that's intense. When you have something that's mocking God.
Right.
In
Right.
a place that used to be a church.
That's right. It did used to be a church. Good point out there, Travis.
Yeah, so it used to be a church. So where do you go with that, Travis? Could that not be evil? Could that be
Just a church goer?
It's definitely, I don't want to say malevolent or evil. That seems like, I think it's more of a kind of a ribbing, like you said before, sarcastic, kind of like, who do you think it is?
right?
You know, these guys are just a smart ass.
Right.
Right. Now,
I would go smart ass more than I would evil.
Right. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Could it be because you, me, and Stacey, we don't like to go to the evil demonic side almost as a rule?
yeah, that's true.
Let's approach this with an open mind. Okay? No preconceived notions from 20 years of investigating. So we're in a former church, and it was a church many years ago, but yet still a church, still looks like a church.
It does.
And we ask for a clear name. We get a direct response within a second that says Jesus Christ. So is that a mocking? Is it, and I agree it's not demonic. Okay.
No. I don't think it's like evil like that.
But what I'm wondering is, could it be someone from the church?
Right.
That's almost like it's the blood of Christ. It's the body of Christ. It's,
Right. That's just trying to let you know.
Right. What am I? What is this building? I mean, I don't know. Would that be referenced like that? It's just a question that we honestly can't answer.
No, and it's kind of hard for us because we feel like there are spirits there from the church because of our past investigations and EVPs that we've gotten. We got that My Church You Got EVP. We played that on the last time we did this. And, so even something that happened later in the night on this investigation that we'll play later.
Right.
Kind of
solidifies it.
Confirms that there is someone there from the church.
Which is astounding because the church was there in the I mean, it's been gone since the early 50s.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
but I mean, for people that are really connected to the church, maybe that's just their...
I mean, you think about the emotions and stuff that some people could tie to a church like that when the church is their safe place and where they're, a lot of them is probably the last time they saw family members. I mean, there could be a real emotional tie there.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, you grew up in the church and I mean, with your father, was your father a preacher when you were growing up?
Yeah, from the time I was 10.
Okay, so I'm sure he has a emotional attachment to the building itself too, right?
I don't know if it would be an emotional attachment as much as probably the emotional attachment would probably be more to the people. That there might be, he's probably imprinted on the buildings, I would say. It's the emotions experienced in the area, I think, can linger. And once the spirit passes on, I'd say there's a good chance that would be a drawing point on this plane, if there was any, to where, because of the emotions that they expended there and because of what they left there, if they're going to have a place to go back to, that would be one of the places. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my actual belief on this, I guess, since we opened the discussion up, I'll go to my actual opinion is, as Travis's was, and I believe yours is, that it was a smart ass spirit.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so.
I think there's a guy standing there trying to scare us.
Yeah.
Trying to act like something he's not.
Right.
And, as in death, as in was in life,
Right.
Some asshole standing there at the bar, right?
Right.
And he's just trying to do his thing. And he's like, Jesus Christ, 666.
Well, we did get another response through the spirit box that kind of leads to it being a church. because I know that we were in the theater and we were trying to contact the spirit of a particular woman that was associated with the theater, Emma. And as a rule, we try not to do that, but we have been here before, so it's not like we were going in and we didn't know which spirits were there. Normally, we try not to call out specific spirits.
Right.
You know, we just like to see who's there.
Because early on in our investigating, you know, we would call out a specific spirit and maybe not get any response all night.
Right.
Because, you know, hey, if somebody walked in your house and they were like, Margaret, you know, you're not going to answer them, right?
Right, exactly. So, but we were trying to see if Emma was there, and we knew that there was a spirit that was communicating with us. So I actually asked, how long were you part of the theater? Because I was assuming that this voice that we were getting was Emma.
Right.
And then we got a response to
and
that.
And the response goes for a few seconds after the question is asked.
Yeah, it takes a second to come
But
through.
it's very, very interesting response.
How long were you part of the theater?
I mean, that's clear. Never.
Yeah, this is never.
So, and again, I'm going to play it just for giggles and feces.
How long were you part of the theater?
Yeah. So, I mean, interesting. Direct response. What's happened in there before is they've seen Emma up in the corner smoking.
Right.
We did capture an EVP there. So how you doing, Sugar? Which would be part like of a Hello Dolly type
Right, like
era.
theater.
And she loved to do the Hello Dolly. Her picture's up in the place. And, you know, with the theater, especially community theater, clothes are all the time coming in. And
Yeah, donations, props, things.
right, especially from probably from death. Probably from
like
somebody leaves it in a
estates and
will,
things.
estates.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, very, very connected. So,
Okay, so another thing that happened that we thought was really interesting while we were in the theater area is we were actually filming with our camera this time, and we were doing real time, like we were EVP, and then we'd listen back. So it was one of those, you know, instant things. And we got this interesting noise on the recorder after you asked a question that was not on the video, but it's on the recorder, and we didn't hear it at the time.
yeah, and I would never use this ever under any circumstance whatsoever if it hadn't been on video.
On the video. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play the video first so you can hear the audio from the video, and then we'll play the audio from the recorder.
Are you connected to the theater?
Are you here for the church?
Okay.
Okay, so you can hear that there's just us asking questions, and there's not any other sounds or anything like that. So now play what we caught on the recorder.
Are you connected to the theater?
Are you here for the church?
Yeah, so you heard that almost like somebody flicking the microphone.
Right, and in the video that you watch, you can see John holding the recorder. He's actually holding it up in the air.
With 2 fingers.
With 2 fingers from the bottom and away from me.
Yeah.
Away from anything. So you can see on the video that we're not touching the recorder.
Yeah,
And that he's got it away from him.
I always hold, if I'm holding the recorder, I always hold it with my forefinger and my thumb, and I hold it away from us, and I hold it away from interference and make sure that nothing can tap it. So for that to happen for me, especially not to feel a tap,
Right.
and to have 1080 HD proof that nothing tapped it,
Right.
I think that's evidence, don't you, Travis?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting to say the least. I don't think I've ever captured that particular kind of tap before. Like when I'm holding a recorder, I've had those things when we don't have any real backup.
Right.
And I know you have too, Travis. So I think I remember you recording down your hallway in your old apartment, to go back old school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, probably. I think that was the very first time I'd ever done it.
yeah. And that was years ago. That was probably 10 years ago at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, close.
Yeah, close to 10 years.
Well, something funny too, when we were going back through some of our old evidence, we did this investigation in Johnson City. You were with us, Travis. It was a business on Main Street. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's actually a selection on there where you guys had the recorder on the floor and something banged on the recorder. But I don't think anybody was holding it. And it was just one of those pieces that we cut out and saved because it was tapping on the recorder.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
It's cool.
Let's go with probably my favorite thing of the night.
Okay.
And we'll play them. You've edited this down. I'm going to let you, because it's grandiose. It's awesome.
Okay. Well, let me explain.
For what it is.
Right.
Let me just say, I could really care less about knocks most of the time.
Right.
And I've had some amazing ones.
Right.
I have had ones that made me poop my pants, that shook the whole room.
Right.
That's, this was just interesting. And the reason is we've done this investigation of this place about 7 times. Okay. I really do believe it's 7 times that we've investigated this particular building. Not one time have we had anything like this. No, we've never had anything but audio evidence.
Right. Okay. So let me set this up. We went downstairs to what is the green room now, but it used to be like, I guess, the fellowship area for the church, the downstairs area. And so we were doing a question and answer thing, and we were getting knocks as a response. Now, I did edit this down for time because the whole session was like 30 minutes, maybe longer, because when we ask questions, we wait. And we put big pauses in there to see if we get responses. And so I just took out some of the bigger pauses and some of the irrelevant, talking or whatever, and I just sort of left where the activity happens, but you'll get the idea.
Yeah, and I will say there's nothing there that caused that, and we never had it again. We've never had it before.
Right.
It was just paranormal. So here we go. Over 50 years ago, this was a church. Does it bother you?
Oh, did you hear that?
I heard it.
That was over there.
Thank you for interacting. So, were you here with the church? Were you the preacher?
Oh my God.
Thank you. Was that you that said my church you got? Do you know who that was? Thank you. So is that just somebody else that's here with you?
My ears are ringing.
Were you the one that moved the stuff down here when I first came downstairs earlier? I thought it was.
Here, I need to show that side of the room where we're hearing all this stuff. Alright, so.
Wait. Is it okay if we film over there? If it's okay if we film over there, can you knock for me? Wow, that was pretty substantial. I kind of heard the wood on that one.
I just wanted to get.
All right, so we're going to slowly come that direction. We don't want to disrespect or startle or anything like that. We're just trying to communicate because we think this is great. Right through here. Are you in here with us? Okay, so obviously what you have there is a fantastic sequence of investigating.
And I want to point out, you can hear me on there because it always surprises me when that happens. But that other voice is the guy that had to stay with us from the theater.
There's only 3 of us in there. There's the scared guy from the theater.
Yeah, who's even more scared now.
He was a trooper.
Yeah, he did great.
So we're sitting in the green room. We're sitting on a couch. we're asking the call and response questions. Every one of you could all hear that for yourself there. You heard the direct response knocks. We then ask politely if we could come into that kitchen area where it was. And we, if you notice, now Stacey's fangirling all over the place because she loves it as much as we all do. And I love that about her. She's just very excited with because we have been to that building several times and we've never got that kind of response.
Right.
So it was almost like they were almost excited maybe that we came back and, like, okay, look, I'm going to, and to Alan's point, they're comfortable with us.
Right.
And so my favorite part is we ask if we could film and we go into that kitchen area and then we get that where it's right there beside us and it's just so loud.
Yes.
And then it was done.
After that, we didn't get anything else.
It was done. It didn't do anything else. It didn't answer anymore. It didn't, it spin its paranormal wad. So, what do you think of that, Travis?
It's pretty impressive, especially since, just to repeat what you said, you never got that before. All the time you were there, didn't get it after. Pretty solid. Yeah,
I mean, and it's one of those things where you do pee a little, when it's happening. For me, I mean, I don't want to say it's old hat, but it was so awesome just because, we're videoing, we're recording, we know where everybody is.
Because it's just us three.
It's just us three.
Yeah.
And we're capturing direct response. And then it almost, I like the fact that it ends. I like the fact that it doesn't happen again. You don't have to worry about anything in the walls or.
Well, I mean, it got its message across.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we were talking about where it kind of confirmed that this was someone from the church because that's how the line of questioning went.
And I will also say to all you aspiring paranormal investigators, notice I didn't start screaming and flailing my arms and running away, you keep the same line of questioning, not to startle what's happening. And just, we needed to know and have your questions, know what you're going to ask. Don't ask their name 5,000 times.
Yeah. Don't ask the same thing over and over. And I will say that after it was all done, we did walk around and tap on things to see if we could figure out what they were knocking on. But we didn't do that until after all the activity was done. We didn't want to disturb it or anything. So we just waited. And then when it was all done, we did go around and see and find where it was making the noise.
Yeah, we're not, we talked about debunking before. We do try it, but we don't try it till after it's done.
Right. We don't interrupt what's going on. Tell them what happened because you said that thing. You asked him if he was the one that moved the stuff downstairs.
Yeah.
I don't think you told that story. Tell them what happened.
When I first got there and I was doing setup, I go to every room and take a reading, as we all do, to see what the baselines are. And I was in the basement area and I was taking the baseline and I was also getting a tour at the same time, just killing two birds.
Right.
And when I went to the basement, I saw something lift off the ground and drop, and it was a heavy, like a mat,
like kind of rolled up, wasn't it?
Like a rolled up floor mat. And the rolled up floor mat lifted up and levitated about, I don't know, I don't say levitated, but it was picked up maybe 3 inches and dropped, which is substantial for an inanimate object.
Absolutely. Any movement.
Pretty big deal. Yeah.
So,
we're just kind of making light of it. Well, it only lifted up like 3 inches on its own. I don't know. It was nothing.
I mean, the thing was, I told the people I was with, I was like, you guys have no idea what's going to happen tonight. That's me. That's my, but with the kid that stayed with us, I was like, you have no idea what's going to happen tonight. I was like, it's already lifting things up and dropping them. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I know right now this doesn't mean anything to you because you didn't see it, but before the night's over, you're going to experience paranormal activity.
Yeah, it was one of those things that, of course, there was no cameras running yet, and we weren't recording. It just was one of those things for you that you got to see.
Yeah, but I think it was that spirit saying, "Hi, I'm ready to talk."
Yes.
So anyway, Travis Molden, thank you so much for joining us on our little romp through some recent evidence and putting a little opinion on is this evidence or not. It's almost a game. But, and we'll have you back on very soon for a normal topic. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you joining us. And Alan Marston, thank you for joining us. I will say, I was having a little fun not telling you guys what happened to Alan. Alan is a fireman.
Yes.
And he had a fire. Yes. So he had a call and he had to go. And I just thought it would be fun not to say anything.
Just to let that stand and just run away.
Just as a rib on Alan. Acting like he was still on here, but I wasn't asking him questions. So
yeah, he had to drop mid-call, but
that's how much I love my friends. So Travis, buddy, thank you so much. And we'll have you back on very soon, sir. And right. Alan, thank you as well. All right. Well, there you go. There was some exciting evidence from our recent investigation and a little bit of discussion.
Yes.
I love discussion.
Well, we do it well.
Yeah. No, and the evidence, it was a good investigation. It wasn't actually one of our intense, let's, get everything we can.
Well, that's kind of our fault too. Cause like we said, we weren't really putting everything we had into it.
Well, yeah. And you know what, that goes back, the negativity that can be surrounding on something, but the cool thing about it was the activity that was there, and they really wanted to communicate. And the real point of this whole main attraction was more a discussion on the fact of what happens when you get a piece of evidence that could or couldn't be,
Right, because all teams have that. They get their piece of evidence that they know is paranormal, but then there's your dilemma. How do you present that as evidence to people that don't understand why?
Yeah, and do you guys have a piece of evidence like that you've kept and had the discussions about? Do you have ones that have torn your team apart just from whether or not it was actual or not? If so, drop us a line. Let us know about the story. We'll bring it up on a future episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's I know it's happened to a lot of the teams out there, and for those of you who are not on paranormal teams and you're just in paranormal enthusiasts, I hope that you enjoyed listening to some of the evidence, especially those knocks. Man, those knocks were cool.
Yeah, that one that was cool when it happened.
And we do have the video like you hear on there. We do have the video where we go over there and we get that knock. So anyway, I will say paranormalsideshow.com. That's your address to find out everything knocks. Facebook.com/paranormal sideshow. There's a lot more knockers. Twitter, it's at sideshow97. Oh my God, I said Twitter instead of Tweeter. On Instagram, Hot Knockdown. It's John and Stacey Edwards.
No knockers there.
On YouTube, Paranormal Sideshow, they'll ban you for knockers. And anywhere you want to listen to the knockers, be it iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, the knockers are available anywhere. For my lovely knockered wife, Stacey, I am John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.